Welcome to Reba Raytel. I'm Ali Chaos. I'm an ex-grunt, and today we're going to be talking about why is there a war in Ukraine. I'm not here to pick a side. I'm only here to explain from an actual unbiased view and give both sides of the story. There's quite a few different issues. We're just going to pick the first one, and the first one is NATO's expansionism, point number one. So I'm not going to beat around the bush. America actually started this war. And I'm not pro-Russian, nor am I pro-Ukrainian. I'm pro-actual facts, and the facts are that America has forced Russia into a war that it must fight in order to protect Russian self-interests. And by doing this, weakening Russia militarily, financially, and economically, so it will no longer be a greater threat as it could grow to become. And it's very smart and very cunning on America's behalf. And this is how they did it. In 2014, America backed and equipped the coup that took place in Ukraine in the above-mentioned 2014, this is a key date, against the then democratically elected government of Ukraine, thus overthrowing a democratically elected government because they considered the government to have too close ties to Russia, and they saw a chance to destabilize the region and in turn Russia, and they took it. There are also reports of, at the times of the riots, it was actually an American-backed group that we can touch on further later in a video, as they have direct ties to the American government, and they even have photos of them shaking hands with, I believe it's the founder of this C14 group. But again, that's another video. We'll touch on that another time. A report came out from the Kremlin that it was this group that fired upon civilians. They did this and then blamed the then pro-Russian government at the time for firing upon the people. And this was to incite more support and recognition for the cause, and it being the right one in Western media's eyes. Fast forward to 2022, this year, right now, this day, and that same group is now part of the Azov division, which fights for Ukraine. And the leader they and America had selected and had in mind is now the leader that's in power right now, the Ukrainian Prime Minister. So, the American-backed coup was a success in 2014. And now that the Ukrainian government is pro-Western, that brings NATO to Russia's doorstep. Now ask yourself, would America allow China to have Canada or for Russia to have Mexico? Never. They would never allow them, and if you need any proof, look no further and the Cuban Missile Crisis. But why would America do all this? Why would America push another country to war? That's why everyone will be asking. It's simple. Money, oil, and gas. Now before you go, oh, it's conspiracy theory. No, this is all backed. This is legit. Check it all out for yourselves. This is all 100% legit. You see, there's actually a huge pipeline that could supply all of Germany and exports to the whole of Europe involved in this story. And it's called the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline. And it was going from Russia to Germany before this war. And now that this war's kicked off, the pipeline stopped and America can step in and supply all the natural gas. But that's all for another video. Again, there's a lot of points to why this is happening, and that's another one of them. Also, you see, Ukraine wants to be part of NATO now, obviously, having the pro-Western Prime Minister in place, presidents are in place. Now, they want to be part of NATO. But you can't just be a part of NATO. There are some criteria first. They even once rejected Russia from joining NATO. You need to have certain military spending and certain military gear. And where is the only place you're allowed to buy your gear from? America. So if Ukraine becomes part of NATO, not only is America able to sit at Russia's door and watch it, but it also supplies billions of dollars of weapons to that country. So it's a win-win for America. It makes business. It gets to set up a fob on Russia's doorstep and just watch them from their border. So as you're starting to see, there's a lot more at play here. Let's step a little bit further back, and we're going to go back to 2014. You see, the Russian-backed separatists, you know, the bad guys in the media, well, they were actually the patriots of the then Ukraine. Because they were the ones that said, no, we will not overthrow our government, nor will we be ruled by the people that overthrew our government. So they broke away and moved to regions such as Donetsk and Luhansk, and I hope I'm saying them right. And they've been actually begging Russia for about 8 years to step in on this conflict. It is worth noting that there is an agreement called the Minsk Agreement, which was made so that those that moved to those areas could elect who they wanted to side with under the ceasefire. However, elections are held off because of the ceasefires or the failures of ceasefires that are always being broken, or that were always being broken. But it is worth noting that Ukraine did, as well as the pro-Russian separatists, both sides did break that ceasefire on numerous occasions. And bear in mind, during all this, Ukraine shares a lot of history with Russia, to the point that it's even been a part of Russia at times in the past. And to reinforce that, 1 in 3 people speak native Russian as their primary language, and 1 in 6 is an actual Russian. So Ukraine definitely does have very close ties to its neighbour Russia. And in my opinion, despite what the media will have you believe, I think that is why Russia is taking a bit more of a gentle approach than what we're historically more used to from the Russian army. They're using a lot more precision missiles, a lot more precision targeting, and they're trying to minimise civilian casualties a lot more. And I think that's part and parcel, and due to the fact that they also believe that Ukraine and the Ukrainians within it are part of them. So I do believe that it is a softer operation because of that, and also in fact because the rest of the world is watching. This is all very live fed, it's straight on their phones and everything else. So Russia knows the rest of the world's watching. So I think they're being a little bit more delicate, but I also think that they are being more delicate because I think that they are going in for the right reasons in their eyes anyway. As they did have that population of Luhansk and Donetsk calling for them to come in, allegedly anyway, going by their media and all their outlets as well. So I just wanted to point out that we're not always the good guys in every story, and there isn't always good and bad. There's just different and a lot of shades of grey. I think the world is just historically grey and very dark in most aspects. And I think it goes to show that America has a lot of a vested interest in Ukraine going to war right now, and there's a lot of reasons why that is. Again, we just touched on one now. There's plenty more to come. But I'm not saying the American people are bad, just like I'm not saying the Russian people are bad. It's the governments that are in charge of these people. But all I'm saying is the American government is really no better than the ones they warn us about. The general public will not know all this sort of stuff, because the propaganda machines here are just as effective as the propaganda machines and the media outlets in Russia. In fact, I'd even go further and say that the American westernized propaganda is better than Russian propaganda, due to the fact that that is really what won America the Cold War in a lot of ways, because above all else they exported their image of the American dream and the country and the freedoms, and that is really what sort of won the rest of the world over. But that is another story again. Back to the one at hand, NATO expansionism. It comes down to, Russia, America is forcing Russia within their own borders to really choose to either have America there on their doorstep freely, or having American-backed forces there by force anyway, able to watch them cut down the Nord Stream 2 line. And there's, again, a whole host of other things, but we'll touch on that in another video. If you like it, please like, subscribe if you like the video. Give us a thumbs up and let us know, and we'll continue to bring more of why this is happening. That's Ali Chaos Reaper Raytel out. Drop.